Hello, my name is Andrew Mikolajczak, and this is my online presentation of creating a project for Education 709 from Central Michigan University. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about the two lesson plans or projects that I came up with in Module 5. So we'll start with the first one. Project 1 is help forms. My motivation with this actually began in Module 4. I was thinking of the idea of how, say for example, you want your cell phone to do something, you know it can, but you have no idea how. So you go and Google it, you find some forums, and you can figure it out. Or maybe your laptop is doing this weird thing where every 15 minutes this little pop-up comes up and you want to know if you can get rid of it. So you find some forums and you see what some people have done, and you can get your help that way. And the idea of this is it'll allow my students to be able to post for help on homework or labs or review guides or whatever they need help for, and they can get help from either teachers or other students. So when I originally did this or thought about this in Mod 4 and where it really came together in Mod 5, the problem I had in Module 4 was this created a tremendous amount of responsibility for the teachers. Usually the students themselves, once they understand the homework, have no real desire to go on to helping others unless they get a direct phone call or text message. I mean, they're at home. It doesn't seem reasonable that they're going to go ahead and monitor these forums and help people. They don't have much of a motivation for it. They've already got their homework. They're good. They've moved on. So they put a lot of stress on the teachers where they would have to be checking this at night. And of course, that's even more work for us to do. So my thoughts is to have the AP students work with one or two other students, and they would be responsible for the forums for an entire week. I wanted 2 or 3 students because that way if a student has work on, say, Tuesday and Wednesday nights, or they have a game for a sporting event, or they have some kind of extracurricular activity, they will have someone else who can watch the forum for them. So they're working as a team, collaborating as a team, saying, okay, I get Monday, Wednesday, you get Tuesday, Thursday, and so on and so forth. Then if it really came down to a situation where absolutely none of them could possibly do it, then they could go ahead and ask the teachers to do this. What's great about the help forms in particular is this works for all the physics classes. All general physics would have access to this. Not just my students, but all of them. And it wouldn't just be me as a teacher monitoring this, it'll be all the physics teachers. In fact, we could even put conceptual physics on here as well for the AP to help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch out of the PowerPoint and I will pull up the actual help form itself. There are several free boards out there that you can use, or forums out there that you can use. I chose Pro boards without having done too much in-depth research on this yet, because I'm not ready to launch this for this school year. This school year is almost over. It'll be something I'll do in the fall. I will need to do more research, but I looked at Pro boards. I'm already kind of like the idea of how it works. So creating it as an instructor is rather straightforward. You just go to proboards.com, which I'm already at. Let's go, we'll call this 709 example. And you can choose you want to be .proboards.com or .freeforums.net, whatever you want. I'll type in my own email address and come up with a password and begin building it. So I am indeed a human. And now the board's been created. So as I go here, this is the actual form itself. Whoops. I will need to log in. In my email address will be the activation key. When I put in the activation key, the actual form will pop up. Now I've gone ahead already and created one, so I'm going to actually open up that one myself, and that is going to be lcnphysics.proboards.com. So here I've logged in and I've created just a starting kit for this to show you what it would look like. Our first unit of the year is linear motion, so I thought about having the boards go by units. So if we look in linear motion, projectile motion, the way this would work, you open up linear motion, LM2 would be the homework assignment, Q4. Pop it up and you see a question here. I am supposed to use number 2 on the kinematics big 3, but I can't seem to get the right answer. Any help? The AP student would have access to all the homework problems, could think about what's a possible solution to this. Maybe they aren't supposed to use equation 2. Maybe they're supposed to use equation 1 or equation 3. Maybe the AP student realizes, oh, you know what? They're probably not recognizing that the acceleration is negative, and that's what's throwing off their answer. So those are some different things I could do. On an administrator standpoint, some key things that would be important if I go into the admin tab here. You have all kinds of different things you can play around with, but the two big ones to show, because this is for public, as I clicked on settings, I'm going to check out the form settings, in particular login and registration. This is a big section right here, registration settings. I want to restrict it. What this does is it allows people to sign up, but they can't actually view or post on the forums until I approve them. This is great for protecting the school and the students itself, so that way no randoms who just stumbled across this out of nowhere can get onto it. You could also do things where maybe people can view the forums but they can't post anything. So if you did want to make it, viewable for the whole world. Other things, there are profanity filters. There are things where you can take specific users and say any post they do actually has to be approved by you. So you have plenty of different options that you can do. As for the form itself, if I went to the admin home, I can go into structure, and then in structure I can here we go, click on categories and boards, and I can add in different things. So for units, let's say I want to add in, we got to our third unit now, so I'm going to create a new board under units. I'm going to title it force. The description is unit 3 forces. Create the board, and there it is. If I want to do something where I want the top to be the first unit, then the second unit and the third unit, I can move them around as I want real easily, move them however I would like. So that was the first thing I came up with. Again, the reason why the AP is to take the stress off the teachers themselves. They actually have to monitoring this all the time. The AP students would only have to do this 1 week a semester, as they worked in teams of 2 or 3, so they could work around each other's schedules. And one of my motivations why this is beneficial for the AP students is, as a teacher myself, and I'm sure other teachers can relate to this, I have a dramatically more profound understanding of my subject material after I began teaching it. Like, I thought I knew it, and yeah, I knew it. I could get through things, but having to teach physics, I know where all the bumps in the road are. I know where the misconceptions come from, why they exist, and I really, really understand the material now more than I ever have before, more than I think I ever could have without actually having taught it. So that wraps up project number 1. We'll continue on to project number 2. Project number 2 I did specifically for my AP. Project number 1 was great for my general physics, and 2 is designed to give the APs some focus. I called it online collaboration. In the fourth quarter, the AP Physics students are actually done learning new material. So we don't do traditional type learning where it's, here's our topic, let's get through it, and so on and so forth, unit test, blah, blah, blah. None of that happens. We review for the test, and we have 4 weeks to do it, because the AP test itself is in early May. So even though school will go on long after the AP test, we've got to be ready by early May. So it works out, we get 4 weeks. In these 4 weeks, the students have a handful of projects. They have some practice exams, their take-home they get to work on. They have a practice exam that they will do in class. That sucks up 2 days. They also have 4 formal labs, in which they have 4 weeks to complete them. Traditionally, they get 2 weeks to do a lab report, and they do them, although they conduct the lab in groups, they do the reports independently. In this case, they're going to have to rely on teamwork, much like engineers would, where they're going to have to do divide and conquer. But you can't just completely isolate and say, all right, you do this, you do this, you do this. You will all have to come back together and make sure that your pieces are fitting with someone else's pieces and everything's coming together and making sense. Certainly, no one student is going to be able to do the entire lab all by themselves in this period of time and having to do 4 of them. So working as a team, collaborating as a team, allows them to learn together, grow together, divide up heavy projects like you would in the real world. And since physics typically leads into engineering, this is a lot of what engineers have to do. You have a major project, you divide up the duties and responsibilities. Everyone still understands everything that everyone else is doing, but someone is specifically in charge of a main portion of it. So I'm using the Google platform. The things that the students are going to need to do for sure is use the Google Calendar for organization. They can use Google Documents to actually construct the report. This way they don't have half a dozen emails or a dozen emails bouncing back and forth between 3 or 4 different people. They just have one document. They can all work on the document at the same time. You don't have to worry about, well, on the document that got sent to Billy, there was the procedure. But then Stephanie got the document with the graphs and data tables. So it's all on the same document. Spreadsheets they'll use for the data and for graphs. So that way they can get much more precise calculations of slopes and whatnot on the graphs. And email for communication if they need it. They could use their own personal email. That wouldn't be that big of a deal. Google Plus would also be great for face-to-face communication where they're at their own individual homes if they needed that. So just like the last one, I'm going to go ahead and take a look, or pull out and take a look how this would work. Whoops, I apologize. This is the one I wanted. They have 4 labs, and when you look at these are actually can be kind of intense because they're very vague. All the other labs, they had guiding questions and so on and so forth, but the AP world is getting to the point where they're saying, this is the situation, design an experiment, tell me what you do with the results. So that's really why these 4 labs got into the curriculum. So lab 1's provide evidence that's going to support radiometric dating. 2 is you're given a block, design an experiment that's going to tell you the index for refraction, how would you analyze the data, so on and so forth. 3, experimentally determine acceleration due to gravity. A very classic physics experiment, a very important one to understand that pops up probably about every 5 or 6 years. Lab 4, experimentally determine the average acceleration of a human being. This one's a little bit of fun mixed in. Whoops, a little bit of fun mixed in with a little bit of the science and the high lab stuff. I like this one because they get a chance to go outside, and this is the time of the year where the weather starts to get somewhat nice, so they have a lot of fun with it, but it's actually a very intense lab to design. They know the lab format. They know they gotta have titles, everyone's name, purpose, materials, prediction, procedures. Procedures need to be very in-depth, data and graphs, analysis, conclusions. So they know what the format is. They've already conducted 3 formal labs, 1 per quarter leading up to this. But then, what they're going to be able to do is use Google I'm already on google.com. Wonderful. As a means to, I apologize, to go ahead and share all their work together. So if they want to create something, they can click on sign in or sign in on their own account if they already have one, or they can create an account. Click on add account. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sign in under my own account and show you what I already have under my documents. In my documents, as you can see here, I'll show you one of the bigger ones. Well, this is just a document for myself to go ahead and type some different things up. So if I want to type in hello, now that I've done it, I can share it. I'll call it 709 test, save it, and I can change the access. Anyone on the web can do it. Anyone who has the link, specific people, and then what I can do is I can invite people to the document. What I will do is show you a specific document on my drive that we as the physics teachers already use. This is our master group list, and it can give you a taste of the kind of potential that this has for us. So for example, this is physics, Cedar Point's coming up. This is organizing all of our buses and all of the groups for Cedar Point. So some of the teachers have put the information in, others have not. There's information in here. I won't open it because it does have some sensitive information, but it shows all the checklists for permission slips, all the information for money, subs, organizing, how many subs do we need. We also did a boat regatta this year, so it shows organizing who's in what boat, where the boat name, so on and so forth. And what's great about this is we were very fortunate that every single teacher knew how to use Google Docs, and we could just go with it. So this is great for our students. They're going to learn how to use some of these tools. They're also going to learn the importance of collaborating. They will have to use the calendar to schedule dates they actually conduct the lab, the document for the actual report, the spreadsheets for the data and the graphs. They're going to have to communicate and talk with each other. It would be extremely overwhelming for one individual to take control of this and do the whole thing on their own. I won't say it's impossible, but it would not be fun. It would be very brutal. So this puts them in a situation where they have to rely on each other as a team, and these tools are going to help them be more successful as a team. Well, that's all I have for my projects. Thank you for watching. I hope I provided some good insight, and please feel free to leave me any feedback. Constructive criticism is always welcome, as well as anything you really liked. Thank you.